Before we get started tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on the episode Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, I want to introduce y'all to a couple of our sponsors. First, the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on the quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. You can find on social media at Twitter at SoCal Warriors. You can find on Instagram, Southern California _Warriors, and on Facebook, Southern California Warriors. Background Check International. Are you looking to background check a new hire on? Let Kit Freeman take care of that for you. Kit has founded and managed Background Check International since 1994, and he's here to help you with the screening process. Contact Kit and let him help you make the hiring process that much easier. This business is used for professional background checks and not for the use of any class such as identity theft or any other illegal activity. You can find us on social media at Facebook on Background Check International, BCI, or also on the website, bcint.com. Now on to the show. Should Frank Vogel job be on the line for the Lakers? They said they're going to take it a game-to-game basis. So we discussed that. Does he just shoulder all the blame for the Lakers' woes? Or should more people be up for a discussion for their jobs? Plus, after Auburn's win over Kentucky over the weekend, are they the best team in the nation? Or are the other teams still pounding for that top spot? We'll discuss that all in the college basketball world. Also, we'll go over all the scores and news around the league and college basketball here tonight on Fast Break live on speaker for IE Sports Radio. You're direct free for all that sports, and you're welcome to join us. Join us as you shout tonight, ladies and gentlemen, of another great episode here on Fast Break, here for IE Sports Radio. You're direct free for all the sports. If we don't sound too jubilant tonight, both our teams got knocked out on late second field goals over the weekend. So, don't expect a lot of peppiness from us. D-Lock, how you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing pretty decent. Still recovering. It's going to be a little while. But I'm here. I mean, Magic played today as well. So, exciting weekend. A lot of things going on. NBA season is just getting started. So, it's a lot going on in the NBA also.
Yeah, a lot of things going on in the world of basketball. You know, the NFL playoffs are going right now. I just kind of shut off after that game, yesterday's game with the Titans. I was like, I'm disgusted. But we're here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to discuss basketball. And here to discuss start off, one Frank Vogel tonight, D-Lock. Reports have been saying that his job is on a game-by-game basis with the team. So, you got that report coming out. Also, keep in mind, Anthony Davis still out with this injury. Frank Vogel said today he's close to returning, but we don't know when. Kendrick Nunn had a setback in his knee injury process, so who knows when he may come back into the fold for the Lakers. So you got that going on. So, and plus the player Russell Westbrook, that's been factored in. The hot and coldness of the role players. D-Lock, is Frank Vogel the lone person that should shoulder the blame for the Lakers' woes, or should more people be added to the list?
I feel like Frank Vogel should have a 80 to 90% role of this. Biggest reason is because this defense doesn't look the same as it did a couple years ago. This defense is looking great a couple years ago when he got there. You know, they picked up some players all season. They dropped some off, and they look totally different now. So for me, I think he plays a huge role in this. Bron is going to be Bron. Russ is being Russ, and it includes the maybe turning the ball over from time to time. They're bringing the energy. It seems like they made adjustments by having him sit sometimes in the later fourth quarter. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of this is on Frank Vogel, because he's a defensive-minded coach. And we remember when he was in Indiana going head-to-head with LeBron with the Pacers, in the Heat or the Cavs, and it just seems like they had that one hell of a season, and they don't look the same anymore. So, for me, I think the fact that Vogel and his defense looks different than they did a couple of years ago, he should take a lot of the blame. Like, Bron is looking like he's one of the best, 37 right now? He's one of the best 37-year-olds to ever play the game right now. And it's not helping by how his defense is playing, and Vogel has a lot to do with that.
Yeah. I think it's his way. I mean, as a coach, you got to figure out a way to fit the pieces that you get with your team. We see this past offseason, we discussed it before we started the season. The additions that they initially brought in, like a Carmelo Anthony, Malik Monk, Wayne Ellington, Kent Bazemore, DeAndre Jordan, brought back Dwight Howard, Rajon Rondo initially, Westbrook, Ariza. All those names were not there last year. And you talk about the turnaround. The only two that are familiar are Westbrook and Rondo with Frank Vogel. Everybody else, it's like a turnaround. But in the sense, you would think, these guys, these veterans will come around and kind of figure things out. In a sense. But they really haven't gelled and prospered like I kind of hoped for. I mean, now you got Ariza in the fold. He's finally healthy playing. They're playing the Heat tonight. They're losing about 20 points right now in Miami. And going to about 7:35 in the fourth quarter. By looking at the stat line right now, D-Log, you mentioned LeBron. The only one really consistent. 26 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Next person up is Westbrook at 15, Avery Bradley 11. I don't know, man. It's tough to gauge, should he be gone or not. It's really tough. Still kind of waiting hope what Kendrick Nunn brings to the table with this team. But the way with this injury rehab has been going, you might not see that due to March. I mean, March. And who knows what the Lakers' position playoff-wise was going to be at that point. Stanley Johnson, I think, I think he was a good find. When they had the COVID issues, but I don't know, man. I mean, I know they probably will maybe get rid of him. Who knows by the All-Star break? But D-Lock, I don't think he should be only one short to blame. Rob Pelinka deserves a little bit of the blame as well. You got to put a good roster around this team. And for LeBron. I don't think...
Yeah, what kind of player he is, that's what they should do. I think losing Kyle Kuzma, even though he didn't make a presence on offense, he made some type of presence on defense. Alex Caruso.
Yep.
You lose him and you let him go to Chicago, even though he's not giving you 25 to 30 points a game, he's making a hell of an impact on defense. So that kind of stuff shows you what the difference is now with what you have. You signed Kendrick Nunn. We haven't seen Kendrick Nunn all damn season.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's a lot of different things, but yeah, and that's like I said, I think those are the bigger things that's really hurt. Dwight Howard hasn't looked the same either.
And I know they're kind of banking on Horton Tucker to maybe come out of his shell and kind of be a consistent player. But we kind of see bits and pieces of that. That player that some of these guys are kind of really touted high on social media. Yeah, we see this guy in practice. He's doing this and that. We see these games that, he scores like 30 points or so. Have an excellent stat line, like 30 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, something like that. But then after that, games like tonight, 5 points, 3 assists, off the bench in 15 minutes. That's not going to cut it. Malik Monk come off the bench again, 7 points, 2 assists in 24 minutes. Not going to cut it. So, I don't know if firing him is the right way to go. And I'll defend Frank Vogel in this, D-Lock. I want to see if you agree with this or not. I'll defend him in this when he took the job. After being let go by Indiana and Orlando, after that, you kind of consider a retread. When the Lakers trying to look for their new coach, after they get rid of Luke Walton, they try to offer Tyronn Lue, but he want that 5-year job security. They didn't want to go for it for whatever reason. Same thing to Monty Williams. I preferred Monty Williams when they did that search because the Ty Lue LeBron mix is just kind of weird. How those two are with each other. It's just weird. But I think, Monty Williams will come in kind of like command a respect, and knows how to do certain lineups like we've seen with Phoenix for the past couple of years to get the best out of his team. I mean, you harped on it. You talked about it. You love how Williams has done a great job with the Phoenix Suns. I have too. They just got to figure out a way to lock up DeAndre Ayton. But anyways, that's a different conversation for a different day. But I wanted Monty Williams there. I don't blame Frank Vogel taking the job. He probably looking around and say, well, how many opportunities I get a chance like this?
Mm-hmm.
And he hopped on it.
He got a championship out of it too.
And he got a ring out of it. You can't take that away from him. He got a championship ring out of it. Wherever the circumstances, some people won't come out there like saying it's a Mickey Mouse ring or whatever. Regardless of the situation, Frank Vogel got a championship ring out of it.
Correct.
While coaching one of the greatest players of all time. But it felt like his situation was kind of like I don't say lame duck situation, but it's just like you're not giving this dude security in a sense. And then on the flip side, he gotta know where he's at. You know, you're in the Lakers. You're coaching LeBron. You know, you got Anthony Davis in the fold when he plays. Who you gotta have such an urgency, and you know you got a time, especially with LeBron, how old he is. You got a time, you know, watch on you. How long you got with this player in tow? So it's something to monitor D-Lock. I mean, they're losing to Miami right now. I mean, Miami's a very solid team, but will you get fired for this game? I doubt it. And then, you know, kind of just look at the schedule ahead for the Lakers. They got the Nets on the 25th.
Okay.
Sixers after that. Hornets after that.
Ooh.
That's a sneaky one. And then the Hawks, who we talked about last week, kind of, I don't want to say find themselves, but they kind of playing better. So that's a tough stretch right there. And who knows after this East Coast trip, you know, what's going to happen afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, they getting that stretch, I think, and they defense come back soon too, so there will be no excuses.
And you talk about the defense for the Lakers. One person who's got to come back and play way better D than he's been playing, Anthony Davis. Because his defense has been atrocious this season. And the Lakers want respectability back in their defense. He's got to come back and play sound defense when he comes back. Because guards are going to be taking advantage of him off switches and whatnot and doing what they want to him. Him not being the rim protector that, you know, we used to see him being. So whenever he comes back, which is possibly back at home, maybe against the Blazers on February the 2nd, he's got to come back and be that dude on the defensive side. If he's not committing on the defense, then Lakers ain't winning no championship, or at least get into the Western Conference Finals. Just scratch that. And I do want to shout out to the chat real quick. Shout out to Terry Rodriguez in chat. He's saying firing Frank Vogel will not make the Lakers better. I agree. Shout out to Adam Karnick in the chat. You know, he's talking about Grayson Allen, you know, being suspended and Grayson Allen doing Grayson Allen things. So, you know, a tiger don't change the spots, so, or the zebras don't change the stripes, whatever you want to call it. And then shout out to Justice in the chat. You know, he's saying Grayson Allen is an assassin. You know, going back, you know, how Jay
been doing that for a while. Yeah, Grayson Allen gonna be Grayson Allen.
Which I kind of surprised. You know, it was back about at least 20 years ago. Somebody probably punched him inside the head a long time ago. But all these guys, you know, worry about their money and stuff like that. And Justice asked this question in the chat too, D-Lock. Who is a great coach in the NBA? Because, you know, he's saying they all get fired.
I mean, if I had to pick a coach that's a really good coach in the NBA, it would be Billy Donovan. He doesn't have the championship to add on to his resume yet. I
Yeah.
really like Billy Donovan. I think that Billy Donovan is doing a lot for what he has, and he did it, the years so far. So it's kind of tough to say that he isn't, a good coach for me, or one of the top coaches anyway.
I'll throw in Greg Popovich as well. His Spurs teams that been like they used to. And I doubt San Antonio will fire him. I think they'll let him retire first, or he'll go out. He'll go out on his own terms before they ever do that. So Pop, like you mentioned, Billy Donovan, those two guys come to mind, and that's really about it. That's a good question about Justice. Like if you really think about it, that's nobody else really out there that got Eric Spoelstra. I think he got long term job security with Pat Riley in fold. Because Pat, he's a Pat Riley guy. So, he got some job security there. I always thought about this. I thought maybe Doc Rivers probably would have had more. He probably still be in Boston if he didn't bounce like he did years ago and didn't want to rebuild. I'm not saying he'd be there now, but there's a possibility he could have still be in Boston to this day. Because they still love talking about that '08 championship. They ain't gonna let that one die until whatever the next one comes about for them. But real quick, ladies and gentlemen, going around the scores around the league right now as we speak. D-Lock, your Magic is up on 11 on the Chicago Bulls, 104-93.
Of course.
23 points off the bench for Mo Wagner. So great game for him so far. 17 for his brother as well. Wendell Carter got 15 points for the Magic as well in the revenge game in sense. DeMar DeRozan, 41 points so far against the Magic. And 22 points for Kobe White in the starting lineup. D-Lock, you see your team winning by double digits so far against the Bulls. Why can't they string this success a little bit longer? I mean, it gets top tier teams, but even the lower tier teams that are at their level, why they can't sustain consistent play throughout the season?
Well, I think one reason why is because they're very young, and the injuries. You got a new coach. You're trying to figure out how's it going to work with the new coach. But also, you have a younger team with Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony, and Franz Wagner, who was playing outstanding. But it's just the consistency of not knowing, the system. And you're getting into where these teams are built with the chemistry of their teams, and now they just look amazing. And I think Jalen Suggs is just not coming back. He's been gone for a while. So to get him back in the fold would be great, but it's just the Magic ain't doing nothing on the East. And you got the players, a few players, but it's just they're young. So I think it's going to take some time, but what happens is you have to use what you're trying to build on, the foundation, and use that moving forward. Clearly, if you're going to use Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony, Wendell Carter, Franz Wagner as your foundation, stick to that for years. and let it play out. But the biggest deal is, I told you before, we talked about like they'll do the same. They'll play exactly the same next year, and all of a sudden they'll fire the head coach and start trying to trade people because they didn't go to the NBA Finals year 2. Like, and that doesn't make any sense to me. So it's the inconsistency in the security that bothers me about my franchise. Like, they're just about making money, not necessarily winning games and making playoff appearances.
Yeah, it's just weird. Like, I mean, anything can happen on an 82 game schedule, but you know, they lose to the Lakers by double digits, even though I think they were kind of hanging tough with them. You know, Suggs had 22 points, 9 assists. You know, 13 for Gary Harris. You know, you didn't. I mean, and another thing, the lineups too. You start off Wendell Carter tonight. You know, granted, you know he's playing his old team, but you had him off the bench. You know, against the Lakers. Granted, you had 19 off the bench for them, but it's just like, where's the consistency in that? You know, I was like, where's the consistency of your lineups? I know, like you mentioned, you're trying to find what's going to fit best for your team. But, you know, there's got to be some consistency there somewhere or another to kind of like find something to kind of hang your hat on for a few games and then go from there. So, they got the Clippers next game, D-Lock. If they hang on to the win this game against Chicago, they move to 9-39, which is not very sexy at all. But, you know, they could get the win against the Clippers at home. Then you get the Pistons at home. You know? And then you get the Mavericks. So, potentially, you could be looking...
Cade Cunningham for to go crazy. And Luka for to go crazy. Point guards against them.
And that could be a possibility. Reggie Jackson has been playing pretty well for the Clippers. He could go off on the Magic, you know, on the 26th.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think you got to find some. Use these next few games. Find some consistency. The lineup you got today, you start off today. Use that against the Clippers. And just go from there. You know, see what works, see what not works.
It clearly seems like Mo Bamba is checked out. Either he's checked out or they're about to trade him. So something's about to happen with Mo Bamba. He looks like, I mean, he had that game where he had like 32 points against the Sixers, but ever since then, or even before that, outside of that game, he didn't do anything impressive to me. Like he's just there. He's not getting a minute. He's not in the starting role. He's been injured. It's like they're ready to move him.
Well, hell, it's kind of been like that for the past couple of years, though.
Exactly. But now that you have a center, boy, I see an actual center, Wendell Carter, or power forward slash center. Now it's easier to move from that guy.
Yeah. Which they should have done that a while ago, but, you know, the Magic.
Yep. Doing the usual.
Yes, sir. Other scores around the league. The Celtics today beat down the Washington Wizards 116-87. Jason Tatum has had 51 points, 10 rebounds. Shot 18 for 28 from the field, 9 for 14 for 3-point land. Probably is one of the better looking stat games all year. So, but you're a Boston fan, don't hold your breath seeing that stat line again like that. But anyways, got my shade out the way. But Jaylen Brown had 18 points. Is it fair to say, D-Lock, that the Boston Celtics are the most hot and cold team in the NBA? Or we should reserve that to somebody else?
That's a good question. I mean, I feel like it's up and down. Like it it goes back and forth. It's just for me. 1 minute they're doing good, and the next minute they're not. So define what you what do you ask for when you say about hot team in NBA for them?
I think the consistency mainly. Like the stat line just laid out for Jason Tatum. I mean, I'm not saying you're going to see it every game, but it should be close to that on a consistent basis. Every once in a while, you're going to have off nights. You're going to have bad shooting nights. But sometimes, we see he gets like 30 points, but he's like shooting like 35 times for, like going for 11 for 35 or something like that. Yeah. It just don't.
Well, I told you, like, the reason for Boston is the fact that one day they have one superstar, and the next day, they have one star going off. The next day is another person. One day it's Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. The next day it's Dennis Schroeder. So they have so many options. They don't have just the one guy that is going to be on the consistent, and that's what makes everything kind of like up in the air. That doesn't mean that Jason Tatum needs to have 40, 50 a night, but he needs to be the where the offense runs through him on the consistency. So others can get open, others can get those shots. You don't see that in Boston, and that's the problem.
Yeah, that's the thing. The consistency. I thought maybe Ukoda brought. I thought he'd bring like a different energy to the team, and I thought maybe him waiting the wings for so long around the league. I thought with Brown and Tatum in the fold, that he can do some things with these two guys. And I thought, like, damn dog, I was kind of hoping you do more, but it really hasn't panned out like that. So maybe trying to figure it out, maybe trying to see what's best for these two guys. But I just think it's just they're hot and cold. It's just real confusing. I mean, Tatum having a golf game like this, and then come out and shoot flat, or Jason Tatum. I mean, he'll play pretty decent, but Jaylen Brown will go off. Or then, like the next game after that, both of them don't really do crap. So it's just weird how this team is. If you look at the Wizards side of things, Kuzma had 12 points. He had 7 rebounds. Bill had 19 points. Gafford, you pay all that money for Gafford, but you're only playing 11 minutes, which really don't make a lot of sense. Dinwiddie, he's been kind of, I don't say disappointing, but he really hasn't popped out for me for the Wizards like I kind of hoped. And this is a guy D-Law.
I think one reason why too, because they got so many players over there in Washington. Like, we thought Dinwiddie with Brooklyn was one of the guys. Especially remember, I think when Karis LeVert was there, and they had like all them injured players.
Yep.
Just like we thought that Dinwiddie was that guy, which he is. It's just the fact that they don't have the Wizards got so many different people they got in rotation. I think Uchimara is starting to get more minutes also. So, like, their rotation is just insane. And on top of that, they got all these other guys, so they're not just leaning on Uchimara just to be, that guy.
So, yeah, the Wiz, I thought, like I said, Dinwiddie be a little bit better stat-wise for them, but that really hasn't come into fruition. So we'll see how that pays out for the rest of them for the season. The Blazers, they get another win in the column against the Raptors today, 114 to 105 over the Raptors. 19 points apiece for McCollum and Anthony Simons. Nazir Little also had 19 points as well. 17 off the bench for Ben McLemore. For the Raptors, 28 points for Siakam. Scotty Barnes had 9 points, 6 boards, 6 assists. So, before we talk college basketball, D-Lock, which way do the Blazers go in your eyes?
They have to figure out what's going on with Dame. And C.J. McCollum is there, but at the same time, how long is he going to be there? Chauncey Billups is a decent coach, I would think, but it just, for me, they have to figure out what's the best move for them. They don't play no type of defense. No type of defense. Every game Portland get into, them games are high scoring as hell.
Mm-hmm.
So if you find a team that can put up some points, it's going to cause issues. So, I mean, right now, they have to figure out what's going on with Dame. Nurkic seems like a great play for them. Larry Nance has been out for a while. But this team just, again, maybe it looks like it needs a defender. Maybe a Ben Simmons. And we talked about it earlier. Maybe that's a person they need to talk into considering trading for. But right now, that's what they need is this offense is playing spectacular from time to time. Anthony Simons is showing what kind of player he can be. Hell, Dennis Smith is even playing pretty decent when he can be over there. But at this moment, your defense has to step up, and maybe a couple trade, a couple players moves can help that.
I think the best thing for them to do, even not even trade for Ben Simmons, I think maybe just see what you got, the young guys, first and foremost. So, like, Simons, who else? Dennis Smith, Trenton Walford. See what you got those, and Nazir Little. See what you get out of those guys, and kind of formulate your future from there. See if those guys can be contributors and whatnot down the line for you. Because you did a couple things trying to change the team. You changed coaches, but I think the injury bug kind of has hit this team, and it don't help with the rumors as well. But I think if I was leading this team, GMing this team, I'll focus on the young guys. Still start McCollum, but still get more time to the young guys to kind of really get a true glimpse of what I can bring to the table. Because that's one thing that's kind of been hurting this team in the past. They're so dependent on Dame McCollum that you didn't have the other person that step up. Sure, you got Nurkic there, but he's been so hurt so much that you always have gotten good results from him in a sense. Granted, yes, good, solid player to have. I don't know, jumping me on the chat about that, but you know what you got out of him. Covington is a very solid role player, but he's not moving the needle for you. Same thing like Larry Nance. So they got to figure out at the young guys who they want to keep and go from there. And then probably had to have a long conversation off season. Do you want to continue with those two guys in the fold? or trying to blow it up. Now, granted, thing is they still in playoff contention, and the other teams behind them in playoff contention. I don't think they're gonna make that type of run to try to overtake them. So you're in that type of spot. So it'd be just real interesting what happens down the line for the Blazers. But D-Lock, to transition to college basketball real quick, let me ask you this. After Auburn beat Kentucky yesterday at home, are they the best team in college basketball in your eyes? They're 18-1. They potentially got the top overall pick in Darby Smith. 6'10" forward, can do everything. In your eyes, is Auburn number one in the country after they, beating up Kentucky? Or do you sense that other teams may have a claim to that title?
I would say Auburn is playing exceptionally very well right now. They're beating teams that are known for being competitors during the playoffs. Like you said, sitting at 18-1, they're going through the SEC gauntlet. And we talked about that. What was that? I think last week or maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like, they're going through the gauntlet. They go beat South Carolina, they go beat Florida, they go beat Bama, they beat Ole Miss, they beat UGA, and then they go beat Kentucky. Like, they're on this level of like just whooping ass, and they lose to UConn in double overtime. So this team basically are overtime away from being undefeated.
Yep.
So I would say they are one of the top teams. They could be one of the teams that could be considered as one of the best in the conference or in the nation right now. It's just, for me, I just think that they have to continue to make this move forward. And, the thing about college basketball is kind of similar to the playoffs. NFL playoffs is one game. So no matter how your team is looking throughout the season, you have to still play that one game. And one game can just completely end everything. So hopefully, I believe they should be able to get it done throughout the tournament. But that's where they are now, man. It's the fact that this team is beating these top 5, top 10 teams, so they could be something to mess with, over time.
I think, and to the chat, they, Justice saying, can Bruce Pro get it done with this roster? I don't know. With a player like Smith in the fold, you should. My only concern about Auburn, that Pro, he kind of let his guards kind of chuck up shots at times. I mean, which is fine in the heat in the moment or at a heat check, whatever, or you kept the defense lacking. But I'll go back to the Alabama-Auburn game about last week or so. Some of the shots that I forget the kid's name. Was it KD Johnson and like Zed Jabster? They would just taking wild shots to take wild shots. It's like, damn, y'all just kind of chuck up anything. And granted, yeah, they won the game, but it's like should have just kind of shut down Alabama down, but he kind of still kept them alive in a sense. But other thing for Auburn too, Walker Kessler, he had 19 points to lead away against Kentucky. He's been, pretty consistent all season. About 11 points, 7 rebounds for the most part of the season. 62% shooting for the field. That's very, very good. But I think for them not to be so, let me get my words out, be so dependent on Robbie Smith, he's got to show up. And then Johnson, he's got to play more smarter basketball at times. And I'm looking at Johnson's stats, 0 assists in that game. You can't do that as one of the league guards like that. Now, granted, Wendell Green, he had 5 assists off the bench, but if you got your starters starting, I expect at least 3 assists there in my eyes. And to add, just this question, Mike Wilson could get a little run in a tournament if they make the field and get Indiana rolling. Arizona, same thing. UCLA, USC. I can go on and on and on. So much parity, D-Lock. Did you agree with that?
I definitely do. But again, like I said, that tournament is the play that is important. We've seen top 5 teams go down early, and they've been shockers. So I just want to make sure that they're not, on the athletic level, we call it, and let's call it peaking too early.
Mm-hmm.
They play too good too early, and I want to make sure that they do that at the right time. And that is what's most important. So hopefully that's not the situation right now, especially with beating teams like Kentucky.
And that's a great point. Could a program peak too early? Like a couple weeks ago, we discussed Arkansas basketball, and they won overtime against Texas A&M Saturday. They kind of, ever since we kind of talked about it, kind of coincidence that they started winning games and stuff like that. So maybe somebody heard us. But anyways, maybe Arkansas peak a little bit early in the program. But, past couple games, they be a good Texas A&M team in overtime. Game before that, they beat South Carolina. They beat LSU on the road. And before that, Missouri, they put a 40-piece on them. So, hey, some teams may peak at certain points. Arkansas, they seem like they kind of find their stride. Auburn, finding their stride right now in the SEC. Terrence asked in the chat, is Gonzaga considered a blue blood? I don't know. It's Gonzaga a blue blood. It's tough to say, Taryn. And D-Lock, I'll let you chime in. Like it's tough to say. With the other blue blood schools, they have had years, not only in history, but players coming through, resources. Listen, could get all they put in but all the how can I put it? All the alumni and people putting the resource in to kind of keep it up like that. Just like a report I saw today, they banned John Stockton from games because he don't want to do put a mask on during the games. And that's probably one of your more famous alumni right there. Hall of Famer. And things like that. You wouldn't be considered a blue blood. You trying to do your best in a sense to kind of appease your most notable players of all time. So, is Gonzaga blue blood to you, D-Lock?
I think they can be. I think they are. But the thing about it is, we've seen Gonzaga have great seasons, and then their postseason is terrible.
Yep.
And that's the problem. Like, they are one of those regular season teams that are in the mix, and then what happens is, come postseason, they're just nowhere to be found. So that's the problem that I have with Gonzaga. They're always a team that makes all these moves. Hell, they went the farthest last year and couldn't get it done at the end. So for me, they are, but come postseason they fold, and that's just some teams are like the hell. Some players are even like that. Not to get sidetracked, but it's the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys watch Aaron Rodgers. The Green Bay Packers, he has a hell of a great regular season, but gets in the postseason and just folds. He's not the same player. So that's what I think. I think they are I think they are one of those teams, blue blood. They have a lot of players. They have a pipeline of a lot of players that come through. But when it comes to titles and when the pressure comes on, this university folds.
So yeah, I agree with you there. Like, he's built some solid teams there, but when you kind of depend on them to kind of go all the way, they really don't go. And I think to be honest with you, D-Lock, and I probably asked Terrence's question. I think he's taking advantage of how the one and done landscape has changed things, and the parity and stuff like that, and these kids transferring whatever and whatnot. I think he's, been consistent enough to build a solid program to keep it consistent. I mean, still change the times, but you kind of look around and still play, hang tough, despite your conference. So, I just think they're taking advantage of the time that we're in now, especially this past decade. The thing about this, like, UCLA has changed coaches here a couple times. Arizona, a couple times. North Carolina has recently changed the guard at Chapel Hill. So, and Mark Few's just been consistent all the way through. So, I don't think Gonzaga's not there yet, Taryn. So he's not there yet.
Nah, over time, but they are good for having the players that can make an impact. It's just they get in the postseason and just fold, and it's the usual for them. This is a continuous thing for them. So you gotta understand that. Okay, they're gonna have a hell of a season, but then when postseason come around, they're not going to be the same season we've seen early in the season. They're not going to be the same team that we've seen early in the season. That's just not going to happen.
I definitely agree, and we'll
until they make that breakthrough.
Yes, sir. And granted, they did the next step. When you go to our website, isportsradio.com, you will see a Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starting at $5 a month. This donation gets you shout-outs on all 32 shows, all 32 of our shows. Higher tiers include iSports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on the segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment, with one Larry B. Thank you all very much for your continuing to make iSports Radio your direct feed for all our sports. And also shout out to our fan of the month, Jim, for this month of January. Jim is a Steelers fan who probably going through the woes and see what's going to happen with Ben Roethlisberger down the line. But this has been our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back next week discussing all things basketball around the country. I'm pretty sure we'll be more of a happy mood, but not after this weekend. So we'll talk to y'all later, and we're out.